Howard, there's a lot we can learn from case studies of companies that have gone through the regulatory process, and we'd like you to share a couple of those stories with us. For a start, it can be difficult to know whether to start on a PMA or a 510K pathway. Can you tell us the story of Perclose as an example?
Sure. Perclose is a company that has an anastomosis closure device. And the device is used following angioplasty or angiograms to close the femoral artery. There were two companies that had received clearance for products that had that intended use but operated in a very different fashion, and both of those products were PMAs. When Perclose went to the FDA, their device basically used needle and thread. It went in over a guide wire, it pulled back, and with a suture and a needle, it closed off the femoral artery. And the company's argument was that the products that it used were 510K devices, and they should not have to go through the PMA pathway. FDA thought about this argument, said it was very interesting, but they weren't really certain if they were comfortable with the device being a 510K or whether it would need to be in the PMA category. So the CEO of the company very wisely made the determination to conduct a PMA-like study and to submit that as part of a 510K. The study was conducted. It demonstrated that the device worked very well, that it was safe, that it was effective. 510K was submitted to FDA, and the agency, after consideration, decided that because the other two devices had been regulated as PMAs, that the Perclose device would need to go through the PMA pathway as well. But the good news for the company was that this only required expansion of the submission that was made to FDA to include the things that go into a PMA that are not included in a 510K, like manufacturing information, for example. And the study itself was sufficient to support a PMA. So they were able to obtain a PMA relatively quickly following the submission of their 510K, and certainly much more quickly than if they had to go back and do a PMA study, because initially they determined they thought they'd be a 510K and did a smaller study. So they were quite successful, and by planning for the potential eventuality of having to do a PMA, they were able to get through FDA in a very timely manner, and they had the additional benefit of having a lot of very good clinical data that they could take to clinicians once they were approved to demonstrate why their device was safe and effective.